You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, goodbye, good day. Hello, welcome along to Let's Talk Leicester. Yeah, same show, just new name. You know me, I get bored with names after after a few months. So just call me Sheila. I've been called worse. How the devil are you? Welcome along to the debate show. Maybe the last as a Premier League team. Who knows? We will know in a few days' time. Nervous? Tense, nervous, headache? It's what you get for being a Leicester fan. Good evening, this is LTID from Leicester Till I Die, live on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Thank you for joining us and joining in. Hopefully, feel free to do so via the chat. Remember, please keep all chats clean and respectful to other members. For those of you listening on the podcast, thank you for lending me your ears. Next time, get the wax out. We are available on the biggest podcast platform on the planet, allegedly. That is YouTube. Now doing podcast. I don't know what the difference is, but we're also available on your normal sort of podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Podcast Addict, and many, 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 many more. And if you are rich and you've got a smart speaker, you can find us by playing or just asking it to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. I won't say, let's see if mine's working. Alexa, what do you call people from Burnley?
Lancashire's dominant is Lancastrian.
Oh, no, that wasn't what I wanted. Fell flat. Dingles, that's what we are. Look, if we go down, we'll be playing the better team from Lancashire. I guess who's in the chat? Yes, he is. So just for him, we'll be playing Blackburn. Of course we will. And if you want to follow us on any of our socials, LTID TV or Leicester Till I Die TV, whichever you want along the bottom there, search either or and you will come across us. And I've not had that happen for a few years since I was still with my wife. Anyway, this is the debate show. We have got a few things to discuss. Basically, what we're going to be doing is having this chat about two things. First of all, we're going to start and talk about Maddison being called up into the England squad today. Does he deserve it? I don't think so. And secondly, the Great Escape 2. Could it happen? And how would it compare to the Great Escape 1? And then if we've got time at the end, we'll be putting your questions. If you're asking questions in the chat, and we aren't going to come straight to them if it's not on topic, but I will be starring them and coming back to them later. Look, it used to be a Disney film. Nowadays, well, it's an LTID show, isn't it? Yeah, of course. It's Beauty and the Beast. All right, Dave.
Hello, Beast. How are you?
Touche, sir. Touche. Very good. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. Well, I say good. Yeah.
Look, it's only football.
Somebody said it's only a game today. Yeah, right.
It is. At the end of the day, we have to remember it is only a game.
It is only a game.
I was sat outside earlier. The sun shining down on me. Well, it always sounds on the righteous, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Yeah.
And thinking I'm not, and it makes you think that I'm enjoying that. If I lived in Ukraine, I'd be dodging bullets and bombs. So let's not, we've still got a team. There's a lot of, like Bury, Bolton nearly lost theirs, Derby nearly went out of business, Coventry haven't got a ground. So it could be a lot worse. And of course, we've been in that position because we went bust once and nearly twice, didn't we?
Indeed, we did. But at this moment, it couldn't be much worse.
Yeah. Did you say that the S word then?
It has to be Everton, though, doesn't it? Eh?
Do you know what? You've just reminded me, and thank you very much, because my age is not what it used to be. But on the good old Twattersphere, I did a poll yesterday, which has just finished, and it was a case of I was asking anybody who was a non-LCFC fan. Now, obviously, there'll be one or two thinking they're clever, but basically, I said, "Can I ask my non-LCFC fan following who they would prefer to see get relegated?" Not surprisingly, 73.2% voted for Everton. 15.2% went for Leeds, and 11% dead on went for good old Leicester City. And talking around people, people do seem to sort of, talking to Newcastle fans recently, well, obviously for the game, I run a couple of Newcastle channels, and they all, out of the three teams, it's us that they want to stay up.
Yeah, well, we're easy to beat, aren't we?
Always look on the right side of life. Do-do, 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 do-do. I mean, it's true, but look, under normal circumstances, I
Yeah.
think we obviously, look, people fell in love with us at the 5,000 to 1, unless you were a Spurs fan or an Arsenal fan. People fell in love with us. And I think we've given teams a lot of hope. The Newcastle fans have said to me, they saw us do that and they lived in hope that one day it might be them. I think
Yeah,
next
one
season
day. Yeah.
it could well be. But I think we have retained that sort of, not altogether, but I think we have still retained that that, to say, the liking of from other fans.
Yeah, I think the problem is that, like most teams our size, and we are a medium-sized team, it can't be sustained.
No,
And every team below, well, even in the older days, Man United went down, Spurs went down, although they're not a big team. Chelsea went down, and
that's two. That's two you've got in. Well done.
um, and it happens. Apart from now, it's not going to happen to Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, that lot. But it will happen to the Leicesters, the Wolves, the Brentfords. Brentford are going to struggle next year, I think. I mean, they're brilliantly, but I think they'll struggle next year.
But I think,
And Fulham. Fulham's
Fulham,
similar
I think,
sort of club. Yeah.
yeah. We'll say hello to the chat in a second. Dan's in. Good evening, Dan. Who obviously this time last year was in our position.
Yeah.
And I've always been worried about Dan's positions, but there we go. Yeah. We don't want to upset Spurs too much. We need them to beat Leeds at the weekend.
That's not going to happen, is it? I mean, but well, saying that, they did us, didn't they, to get us out the top four?
I mean,
they did bring out some crazy results on the last day of the season.
They have.
So,
I mean, they're sat in 8th at the moment. So 57 with 60 points. It's between them and Villa for 7th. Brighton and Hove have just got Europa League, courtesy of Man City winning the title. So there's a Europa conference place up for grabs. So there's a little bit they've got to play for. They can't catch Brighton, even if Brighton.
oh, where you gone? No, even if Brighton lose, you're right. But what happens if Man City win the FA Cup? Earth to Chris. One of us has gone tits up, mate. I don't think it's me. Okay. Well, everybody, how are you this evening? It's a beautiful summer's evening here on the south coast. Looking forward to a wonderful weekend with the game of football on Sunday. And it's not going to happen, is it? Too much needs to happen in our favour, and nothing's happened in our favour all season. So why should it start now? Everton sneaked a point here and there. And what happened at Brighton? Good God, what was that? There's some money been changing hands, I reckon. But that's not for me to say. That's for other people to look into. Might sing you a song if you want, or we could have a little duet. Me and this fella. No? Do you want to sing? No, you don't want to sing. He says he's pissed off since the Fulham result. Since then. Well, good draw at Newcastle, wasn't it? Yeah, but a bit late. Oops, okay. Chris, how the devil are you? Where are you? Talk to me. Somebody talk to me. Is it what? Katey, you out there? You talk to me. Nobody can hear me. But Brad's coming.
Hello.
Ah, hello you are.
There I am. I'd done everything, and I've just seen your messages at me or you. It was me. Everything froze.
Yeah.
I literally had to, when you have to stick the pin in your hole.
I certainly do.
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we? I hope you filled in for me there.
Well, I was talking away blindly to myself. I didn't know whether anybody was listening or whatever, so it could have been. Well, it probably was complete non-bollocks. But nevertheless, yes, the show must go on.
Exactly.
I was going to start singing if you didn't come back soon.
Oh God! If I want, I can go again.
I noticed your listeners going down like that as I was starting.
Carry on singing.
Nah, certainly not. Oh, you're gone again. Come back to me. I can't sing.
Because I wanted you to sing. Like I say, one of those, I literally, didn't I just say, before I came on, I couldn't get into my second laptop.
Yeah.
And then my whole laptop froze. I don't know what happened. So, look, we're going to say, good evening. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Beauty and the Beast used to be a Disney film, but here we go.
Hello, Beast.
Dan is in. This has happened to Dan as well.
Something wrong.
It's Dan's fault. It's Dan's fault. Dan comes back in and it all goes tits up. The Great Escape is on. Come on, Leicester. Look, mate, and I think we're going down, but we will come on to that in a second. Mike says, good evening, mate. All the mods are in. Dan. Turf is in. Oh, yeah. Nate's in. Good evening, Nate. How are you? Or good afternoon over there in America. Everybody's been saying hello to everybody else. Big game Sunday. Nothing gets past the Welsh, does it? Big game Sunday. Pray for Leicester. Mate, I'll take your prayers, but I think anything short of a miracle, but we will be on that. Now you know why I was running late, Dan. Technical problems. Those gremlins get everywhere. Got to pray Everton lose too. I've actually got a Bournemouth fan nipping on for 5 minutes. Well, it's Craig, so it could be 25 minutes tomorrow night just to talk and discuss it.
I'll tell you what, Chris, Craig got it right on points, didn't he? I think if I remember him saying when you had those 5 or 6 on, he said you need 37, was it? He said, or something like that.
Yes, yeah. Box, good evening. Leicester in with a shout. Everton draw and Leicester win is not unrealistic. It's not. And Burnley, look, I was just saying to Craig before before we came on air. Bournemouth, their manager's not guaranteed that job next season. Now they're up and they're big. They might, decide to that they want somebody else to come in. But if he can finish with a win, it's an extra £6 million if you can get a place higher.
Marty.
Shake is in. That's nothing these days, though, is it? I'm wondering if David Moyes still has feelings for Everton. Ooh, I think he's got feelings for the Europa League. We are going to be doing we've got West Ham preview tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Hopefully the guests will be on time. Brad.
You've not left him in the green room, have you, on his own?
He's in the green. Well, no, he's only just come in.
Okay.
I had time for everything to freeze on me, to turn everything off, turn it back on again, start the show again, and he still hadn't come in. So he can wait. Box. Leicester's success was organic. Newcastle's less so. Well, yeah. Was that Rowley? Is
They
in?
are Rowley, yeah.
Well overdue a relegation. That is so true, Rowley. A lot better than other bloke. Lol. It's finished. We're down, unfortunately. Who knows? Chris is in. Evening, lad. How are you? All relegation battle teams will win their games. Anybody knows an Everton fan, and nobody please come back to me and go, James, because I've tried him. I'm doing a relegation special Saturday at 1 o'clock. Leeds fans coming on myself. I just need an Everton fan if anybody knows it. Facebook user, again, you've not put your name on, so I can't read you out. Look, he likes to make an entrance. I mean, this was late. It's late even by Craig standards. I mean, he likes to make. He was probably, he'll come in, he'll say, oh, I fell asleep or whatever. I reckon he's got a new girlfriend. I know. Anyway, I did say I wouldn't wind him up. So let's bring him in. Hopefully he's not shagging anymore. Let me just find the right button to click. There he is.
Hello.
If I can't see you, I'm not late.
Nice. Let's hope Leicester turn up on time more than you did tonight at the weekend.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. Although I'll be earlier to the game than some supporters, because some supporters are convinced the game's on Monday, which they've had to be corrected by a few people. They're so used to Monday fixtures.
Well, I'm going to say we have had a few, haven't we? But yeah, and look, if you're on Facebook, if you don't sign into StreamYard, which is free, you don't have to download anything. But if you can't be bothered to do that, and then you can't be bothered to stick your name because it only comes up as Facebook user on here, I totally ignore your messages. So if you can't do that, why should I read them out? That's the way I look at it. So it's the debate show. We've actually had a bit of fun today. First of all, one computer wouldn't work. Then halfway through, it went out, and Dave was nearly on the point of having to sing. Unfortunately, I came back in before he had to sing.
That's good.
And then, of course, Brad decides, to well, let's not go to what Brad was doing, but welcome along, Brad.
Well, yeah, it's glad to be here, even if I was late.
There's you can usually say to your girlfriend or your wife or your partner that you can be fashionably late.
Oh, hello.
This was just taking the piss late.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, Andrew says all we can do is win. Exactly. We will come on to that, like I say, later. But first of all, I was very, very surprised to see this. Let's start with you, Dave, because you did come in first. Does Maddison deserve? You're going to suffer with this all show, don't you, Brad? Does Maddison deserve an England call-up?
Well, no, but he deserves it for the last season or two, which he didn't get. And I think once you're in the squad, it's hard to get ahead of it, isn't it? So that's why he's in it. They don't pick players that are in form. We know that. Southgate doesn't do that.
If Tony was available, Brad, do you think he would have started? Or he would have been picked, sorry?
Yeah, but it's for Euro qualifiers. It's the old, pulling the wool over England's fans' eyes. We know exactly what's going on. First of all, look at who we're playing in the qualifiers, right? Ain't nobody special. It ain't like we got a Germany and a France to play in it. It's some team we're probably going to beat 5-6-0 with the greatest respect. So it's, oh, look, we're giving these players a chance to play for England and prove themselves, and then they'll go missing when it comes to the tournament because they won't get picked for it. So I'm not even asked about them getting picked for England. It means feck all. It means absolutely nothing because Dave's right. When he was on fire and deservedly should have been in the England team, he couldn't get a call up. And now it's just like, oh no, see, we do pick players for being on form. Do you bollocks? You only pick them because you've got an excuse to play them and know they won't. England won't lose the game.
I mean, Dave. I mean, I know Brad's not a fan of international football, but the question remains on his current form. Now, whether we know that Southgate doesn't pick on current form, but he he was at the game. Which game was it? Everton game or something? He was out watching, and he was awful that game. And unless he wants to put like two teams out, one of 11 and one of 1, because Maddison will just be on his own. He won't pass the ball. He'll try and do everything himself to sort of smile for the cameras and make sure he's not got a hair out of place and he shaved his legs in the morning. I mean, he does not, on his form that it is at the moment, deserve to be in that squad.
No, he doesn't. But he can do special things, and
I can, but I'm not going to say what they are on camera.
But it's irrelevant whether he's in form or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. He played. He went to the World Cup. He didn't play. I think he's played. Has he played a game since then? I can't remember. I think they have, haven't they?
Not for England.
Have they not?
Oh no, he has.
Yeah,
he
has. Yeah,
he was man of the match. Oh God.
Yeah, but he might as well pick him because he's going to move to a bigger club next year, and probably be a top player because he'll care.
If you're picking it on form, Brad, and it's a separate argument about Southgate, whether he does or he doesn't. But if you are picking on form, does he deserve to be in there?
No, he doesn't. He's just his form's dropped off. He hasn't turned up for a while for Leicester, and I know Dean Smith says it was tactically for us, and I understand it, but even tactically, all he did was take the width out of us. He could have still played Maddison. He chose not to. So that tells you that tactics and form at least applies to one manager because he didn't get it in the squad, and he's not getting in our squad, and we're in the right shit creek without. Well, we found a paddle at Newcastle, but we didn't have one until that draw. Let's face it. We were there, and he gets in the England squad. It tells you all you need to know about the selections. I wouldn't have picked him, and it's not any bitterness or anything because he won't be here next season. It's just about he's not on form. I'll back Madders and Barnes while they're here to get in the squad when they're on form. But when they're not on form, if they're not going to get in our squad, why should they get in the national squad?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this then, Dave. If Maddison had played against Newcastle, would we have got the draw?
I don't know. I don't.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
What I do find interesting is it's so similar.
Here we go. The politician's answer here.
No, but it's so similar to other games we've played. Man City at home, Man United at home, where we hold back because we don't want to lose goals because they punished lots of teams before. Oh, come on. They were, they needed a point to get in the Champions League. We should have given them... Oh, hello. We should have really gone for them, I think. Because 3 points, yeah, I know what you're saying, Brad, and we've had this argument before, but 3 points last night or the other night would have made so much difference. Now we're not going to stay up. So what the hell? We might as well have done it last week at Newcastle than wait till Monday. Wait till Sunday and do it.
Okay, before I bring Brad in, because I can see Brad shaking his head, but I would say I went mad when I saw the team. I was pleased that Maddison wasn't in. I don't think Tielemans should have been in because he was as much use as a farting, on that pitch the other night. But to me, if we'd gone for it in an attacking sense, and I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh, I hate that. Oh God, I hate that. I hate that so much. Bless me. if we'd gone for an attacking, we were lucky. Let's be honest with you. If Castagne's goal, and I wrote this, do check it out. BBC Sport website, Leicester City page, Tuesday talking point. For me, the man of the match was the woodwork because it kept us in the game. Had we gone for that, I think we would have been ripped apart, Brad.
Yeah, we would have. There's no denying. I understand what Dave's saying, but I think, and I'm going to give credit where it's due here, I think Dean Smith tactically played it almost perfectly. And the only reason I say almost perfectly is because Castagne's shot at the end was saved and it didn't rip the back of the net open. Because had that gone in, we wouldn't be sat here moaning about defending for 80 minutes or 85 minutes. We've been going tactical genius. What an absolute legend. What a lad. We're all celebrating on the streets because we've already beat West Ham in our minds and we're staying up sort of thing. It is what it is. At the end of the day, Dean Smith said it perfectly right when he got asked if he gambled with Leicester's future. And I hated that question. I hate when journalists say that because it makes it sound like he's just doing this job for the lols. And I just hate that expression. Did you gamble with Leicester's future? No, because if he'd gambled with Leicester's future, he'd have played like Brighton did and we'd have been sat here screaming at 45 minutes, Chris. I would have been smiling on your watch long at half time. I'd have been going, what a fucking idiot. What a fucking knobhead. He ain't got a fucking clue. Why have we gone at them? And we're coming now, we're half time, we're 3-0.
Anybody having a go at the manager like that, to be honest with you?
Oh, yeah, it never happens, Chris, does it? No, never called anybody a bell end or ripped them apart for the team selections.
I publicly apologise to Dean Smith because he got the tactics right in my mind. I mean, if we had done that, and I see what you're saying, Dave, because who knows, we could have won it, but I think, to me, that game was, I think the fact that we got a point was a point gained rather than 2 lost. And if Castagne's goal had gone in at the end, it would have been a
big if though, Chris, isn't it? One shot.
Yeah.
But they had 23 and didn't score any, so it doesn't matter how many shots you have. It's it's the net, Dave.
I like my stats, but I'm having to agree with Brad here, and you don't know how much.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But
I heard that last bit.
Let's say we'd gone for it, we'd lost 3-0. Yeah. How demoralised would the lads be going in on to that game against West Ham? They've now come out of that with the belief that again we had no Maddison and we were not any better off when he came on or any worse off when he wasn't.
I hear all that.
Yes, we were holding on, but we couldn't. We've got a point.
Yeah, I hear all that. But saying that, we did the same against Man United at home and lost 1-0 when we should have beat them. Man City were there for the taking. We lost 1-0 when we should have beat them. The last 15 minutes at home to Man City, we were brilliant. Why couldn't we have done that? Pep Guardiola said, why didn't you play like that throughout the game? Well, you'd have murdered us.
But that's Pep Guardiola wanting you to play into his hands.
Well,
how many times does
maybe, but maybe not. Maybe he's right. I mean, just maybe we've just got no confidence that we're any good anymore, which is why we're going down. You saw
that's why you play 3 at the back, Dave.
Well,
you saw that we're playing 3 at the back. They haven't got the confidence to do the job properly, and that's probably what did it. And
I don't disagree with that back 3, to be honest. I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, it was. We needed it.
We needed that for the crosses, for the pressure that would come. But I still think we gave them nothing to worry about. So of course they had 30 shots or whatever it was, because all they're doing is coming forward. It's like an attack versus defence practice game. And that doesn't challenge anybody in the Newcastle team, or because they know they can push forward more. They know they can take chances. And you're right, we could have lost 4-0 anyway. How would we have felt then?
I mean, there is also the argument that if Guimaraes rightly got sent off, maybe then Dean Smith would have changed it up and we might have been more attacking.
Yeah, and he should have
been.
We all
know he should have done. Even a lot of the Magpie fans were saying that he should have been sent off.
Well, the same thing happened at Old Trafford, didn't it?
It's a bit so. Yeah, I remember that on Phase.
And you can say we've been unlucky, but we've not done that. We've not played the right football, and we've not dealt with it properly. And we got a chance still, but you know Everton are going to score in the 95th minute.
Yeah.
and
Well,
win.
let me just take you through this, because this is what I said after the match, and I thank the BBC for allowing me to. They normally need it by tea time on Monday, but they've let me have it off for a few weeks because obviously we're not playing till Monday night. And I've put, okay, now we've got to say congratulations to Newcastle United on qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I've said, secondly, my apologies to the Newcastle United Football Club groundsmen who will have been picking up limbs off Leicester City players this morning as they left bits of themselves on the pitch on Monday night. That was, and I said this, didn't I, Brad, straight after the game, where's that pride, that guts, that spirit been all season? Because it was all there to see. Yes, every time we kicked the ball up, it went to Newcastle. They wanted to go out on a high and get 3 points. Of course they did. It was it was in their own ground. But at 85 minutes, when the Sky commentator said, "You know what? I think Eddie Howe's wants to settle for a point here and not risk losing this."
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That to me, all right, we didn't get the result, but the performance. Sometimes you want the team to leave bits of themselves on the pitch, don't you? I don't mean Gary Lineker having a shit that time, but you need them to. Yeah, and to me, that's I think what we got.
Yeah, well, I came on in the watch along and kind of voiced the same words. I turned around to you, didn't I, Chris? And I said, because I had the commentary on as well as you did, because I was watching it myself, and when they said that, and that's when Leicester had their only period. I can't even say their best period because it was the only period of aggression and attack. I was watching the last 10 minutes thinking, hold on a minute. Talk about nearly playing it perfectly because of the chance we had at the end to nick the win. But I was thinking they've run out of ideas. They're just making sure they don't take the Champions League fight to the last game of the season. They've run out of ideas because they'd had 23 shots or 25 shots. They'd had the woodwork deny them 3 times, and all of a sudden, a Leicester side that had been digging in deep, really sticking into the turf. Although a few of them slipped over, but that's just happening. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, okay, then, well, we can't score, so let's not concede. And when that happened, that's when Leicester controlled the game. Yeah. And I'm much more positive about the draw because I want to get a little bit political with Dave on his stance that a draw wasn't good enough and we should have gone for a win. Let's take into playing that aggressive football. If we'd have lost the game, there's only one way we stay up. Everton have to lose and we'd have to win. The draw, right? And this is why I take that performance over a hearty performance and getting beat any day of the week at this point, is the draw gives us 2 survival chances. Everton lose or draw, and that's important. There's an or. They lose or draw. If we win, then we're safe. I'd rather, if you're going to be behind the 8 ball, you'd rather have 2 routes out than only having one way out of getting out the snooker. And that's something that Dean Smith will make sure them players go out with that mentality.
How many thoughts are you going to bring into this quote here, Brad?
I know I'm trying everything, mate. I was going to say you're going to shoot for a 3-pointer in a minute. You cut me off. I was on for a basketball. I was going for a bingo card.
We're going to say hello to the big cocks is in. How the devil are you, Richard? Looking forward to having Mini-Me on the show tomorrow night. But let me just go back and let me finish reading this off. And this, like I said, these were my thoughts, and I think we pretty much were in agreement here, Brad. And I can't find it now. Where is it? There it is. This was not a Barcelona-style performance from Leicester, but it was one full of guts, fight, and spirit. A performance we've been waiting 37 matches for this season. Well done, Dean Smith, and having the guts to drop James Maddison, although I think I said balls, but I think the BBC did change that. And James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, and going for a formation that would stifle Newcastle whilst trying to hit them on the break. That break seemed destined not to come, but it was about the right substitutions at the right time, and for a while towards the end of the match, we had Eddie Howe thinking he should take the point and be happy. If only Timothy Castagna's effort had been inches wide of Nick Pope. But it's not in our own hands now. Beat West Ham and hope Everton don't do the same to Bournemouth and we stay up, albeit by the slimmest of margins. But I'd take that. It's the hope that kills us. I mean, I stand by everything I said there. It was more about the performance. Those lads now have at least got some confidence going into that West Ham game, Dave. And like Brad said, Everton have got to go for it now. They can't sit back and take a 0-0 or a 1-0, or if they go 1-0 up, concede a goal and it still be good. They've got to go for the win, and that might just leave them exposed at the back. Same with us, and same with Leeds. Every team has got to go for the win.
I say it's no different to us, is it?
No.
We'll get exposed at the back as well. I just think an extra 2 points, yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But
course,
the point is, I agree with you on the performance. I mean, you can't knock it. They did what they were told, and it just didn't work out. I'm arguing about
an extra 2 points would have been great, but really.
But if we'd have played like that against Fulham,
that's where you would have wanted to see it. Yeah,
Fulham, Brighton, all those terrible away days. You know, that's where.
But then you could also use Fulham as an example here, and I know it's going to sound bizarre because it's probably, and I'm going to say it's at least in my contention as thought for worst performance of the season. I will give you that hint, Chris. If you're thinking of putting it in a top 3 tier, it's in my contention in my head, right? But something that you were the first one to really kind of bark on about it and make such a point about it. And that's the goal difference as well that helps us in that situation. Because as awful as that game was, and as sluggish as Fulham were in that second half, getting them 3 goals in that game were vital. You know, being 3-0 down after 20 minutes against Man City and then not conceding another goal and actually scoring one ourselves. And on another day, we could have got 2 more. We were talking after that game, like, how the hell did we nearly actually have the chances to potentially, lose 3-2 or even draw that game? They're showing how pivotal they are because we have that edge. It isn't like we don't actually have a scenario where, we have to win by 3 goals and Everton would have to lose by 2. We don't have that extra calculation to take in. Whereas Carl, the Leeds fan that we've spoken to, and you've had him on this channel before, because I was on Doug's prediction show yesterday, and he brought it up, goes, he predicted his scores based on the fact that they'd need Everton to lose by a few and they need to win by a few just to get out. So at least we don't have that.
Yeah, I've got the options up later. But
I knew, Chris. I knew. That's why I was late. My brain was hurting.
You led me into that very nicely. But first of all, Dave, it's a point that we're on -18. We only lost by we only lost by 2 goals to Man City. We only lost by 3 to Liverpool. We didn't lose by any to Newcastle. If those games had all been finishing 4-5-0, which they could have done, just ask Bournemouth, our goal difference would be. I mean, we're on -18. Everton are on -24. Another game like Fulham, but where we're not scoring, and we've lost that advantage, and that is the one thing that could keep us up at the end of the season.
Yeah, it could. I mean, that's always been in our favour, hasn't it? I mean, it was about -8 for a long time, I think, or something like that, until we started shipping goals. But yeah, I mean, goal difference has always been an issue for relegation. But I don't know. Perhaps I'm just being Leicester, but I can't.
I think
can't see Everton not winning. I cannot see Everton not winning.
Well, I can now because, as Richard said earlier, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out. Everton have no fit fullback, so they can just see Damari Gray scoring the winning goal.
Exactly.
No, he's going to score an own goal, Chris. I saw it. I had a vision.
Aren't you? You had a dream. I
did. I had a Martin Luther King. I had a dream, and Damari Gray is going to come off after scoring a hat trick of own goals.
So we've done Madison. We are now obviously in the middle of the Great Escape 2. Could it happen? If you've got any questions, keep them short and sweet. We'll star them, but obviously I'm not going to bring them up if it's off topic and nothing to do with the topic we're talking about. But we'll have a bit of time at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to go through a few of your questions if you have any. If you can start those questions with a star, so I know what I'm looking for when I go back up the chat. Great Escape 2. Okay, first of all, one-word answer. Dave, can we do it? I think I know which way you're going to go, but can we do it? Yes or no?
No.
Brad, I know this is going to hurt you, but a one-word answer. Can we do it? Yes or no?
Just there. Read my hashtag.
Oh, I can't. That's too
Yes.
small.
We are staying up.
We are staying up. Well, I mean, I had no doubt because I know one lady that thinks we're
What?
staying up.
I'm Premier League. I am elite. I am proper elite. I am Grinda.
I am hero.
I know.
Get her on the show. She's more fun than I am.
More positive than you are. Good God.
I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, Dave, but in your absence, people have been asking where Eagle Pickle is. I hope we didn't leave him in Australia.
He's
There he is, folks. There you go.
more positive than I am.
Yeah.
He's bought a spare ball as well, just in case.
If anybody is affected by any issues on this show, please contact the Samaritans. Because Dave doesn't work there, guys, so you're safe. You're safe. Look,
it's years and years of torment, Chris. That's all it is.
It
Just
is.
knowing
Look,
that when you get high, you get low.
You do,
You know,
you do. But
in
please
more
stop
ways than
taking those drugs, Dave.
Yeah,
At your
I'm trying
age, it's not good for you.
Oh, I don't know.
If we'd only got the point, they say, I would have been feeling like that. But I'm feeling upbeat because I think that point and that performance it gives us. Everton must have sat there going, "Come on, Newcastle, score."
He's not going to play five at the back, is he?
He will.
Sorry,
Do you reckon he will? He'll
Mhm.
play the three centre halves and two wing backs, yeah?
I think he might do. Yeah, because I think we can't sit back in this one. We do have to go for it. But
Isn't Cags fit now, or is he saving him for the last game as well? So
Cags was always being saved for the last game, but there's news on Evans is positive. It was just cramp, so we'll see.
yeah, and Iheanacho, he came off after 45 minutes. He hadn't played for two games, so he was, I think, just knackered.
Yeah.
But looking at that, and we can see it there, the three teams in red that are going to be battling it out. Let's be honest with you, at least we can be proud that we've kept the thing interesting. I mean, Arsenal have they've made it so boring that they've given it away, and nobody's interested about the top now.
I thought they'd won the league, Arsenal. Is that not right?
No, no. I would check a few. I'll check a few Arsenal channels out there, Dave. You may be finding they're not the happiest.
They've done a Spurs. Must be North London.
No. They did an Arsenal of 2006, February 2016. They took a team photo in February and thought they'd won it.
Yeah. But look, Everton 17th, 33 points, minus 24. Leicester 31 points in 18th, minus 18. Leeds 19th with 31 on minus 27. You can see there Leicester scored 49, although in fairness Leeds got 47. Only 33 goals to Everton, so they have struggled scoring, but they have got the best defence. So, I mean, it is literally is up in the air, but I am happy going into this weekend with that result behind me. It does make me feel like I've got something, and positive to think about. However, we can't be positive for long, not with Dave. But let's have a look at the odds. And we do, obviously, these odds were of this morning, so they might not be current now. And as it says there, when the fun stops, stop. We do not recommend gambling. But Leeds are 1 to 20 to stay up. Leicester 1 to 7, and that's come down a lot since that. Before that, it was a lot higher before that Newcastle game, and Everton 3 to 1 to stay up. So, I guess Dave, looking at that, Everton, you'd say they've got to be the favourites, haven't they? At this point,
Well,
it's in there. The ball's in their courts. No pun intended.
It is, and we should have beaten them at home, and that really speaks volumes, doesn't it? And if we had, we'd be okay. And I mean, you can go through the whole season and look at it that way, though. Big ifs. I'm sure Everton fans can say if as well. But Brentford at home too hot. Southampton at home we lost. Southampton did the double over us. I mean, for crying out loud, we don't deserve to stay up when that happens.
No,
they're the shittiest team in the Premier League without any doubt. And they did the double over us. And both games. So that's the third game of the season and the last 8th or 10th game. We were awful. We were awful.
Well, I want to say Paddy's in. He's obviously taking his hand out the backside of his cow. Sorry, I don't like to call his missus that, but there we go. Paddy the vet off Emmerdale is in. You better do. I've told you, mate, if you do not do us a favour, I'm driving to bloody the Vitality Stadium and putting a hammer through all the windows. So you better do us a favour.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at what they've got to do to stay up. So let's first of all start with Leeds. They're in 19th. Now, for Leeds to survive, the statisticians at Opta are giving them just a 3% chance of staying up. To survive, Leeds must beat Spurs, hope City fail to claim victory against West Ham, and keep their fingers crossed for a Bournemouth victory at Goodison Park. Make notes because I will be asking you questions at the end, everybody. So do be making notes. If Everton draw, Leeds could only leapfrog Dyche's men with a win by at least 3 goals against Spurs. So I could see Leeds winning, but whether they will get that 3 or not, who knows? So that is Leeds. The most important one, of course, for us tonight is Leicester. 18th, for Leicester to survive, firstly, they have to beat West Ham. We know that nothing other than 3 points will see them overtake Everton. They must then hope for a draw or a win for Bournemouth. If it's all square at Goodison, then City should finish 17th on goal difference. However, if Everton fail to win and Leeds record the biggest win in Premier League history, as in 10-1, and beat Spurs, well, it says there, and beat Spurs by at least 10 goals, City would be relegated. I can't see the second one happening. If Leeds win, they ain't going to do it by 10 goals. Let's be honest with you. And then you've got Everton. Now, Everton are, obviously, they are in 17th. For Everton to survive, whatever happens, if they beat Bournemouth, they're safe. So they have to go for the win. How City fare against West Ham and Leeds against Spurs will not matter. A victory for Sean Dyche's side means City and Leeds are down. They could still stay up with a draw, but only if City fail to win and Leeds do not win by 3 goals. If they lose to Bournemouth, then they would need both City and Leeds to slip up. It's as clear as mud, isn't it?
Yeah, really simple.
But it's that. To me, the thing that I take away from that is Everton have to win. If we lost to Newcastle, they could have just gone for the draw and played out for the draw. So
But Leicester have to win as well, though.
Sorry?
We have to win. We have to win as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, the thing is, if both games are 0-0 going into the final few minutes, Everton are going to be the more nervous because they won't know if to stick or twist. Because if they twist and get caught out, and then Bournemouth go and nick the win, and then Leicester have got nothing to lose. They've got everything to gain. I'd rather, if you said to me, Brad, you're going to get to the 88th minute, Leicester 0, West Ham 0, Everton 0, Bournemouth 0. I tell you who's less nervous. It's the Leicester fans because we're going, okay, we've got to score. And then if we get ourselves in front, we'll stick 11 men behind the ball and pray that Everton don't get a goal. And that's all we can hope for. And I know whose shoes I'd rather be in if late on in the game both teams are drawing or, even worse for Everton, they're losing. So,
Yeah. I mean, Keith says here, do we deserve to stay up?
No.
That, as I said, no team is too good to go down, but there's plenty of teams that are too bad to stay up. I was watching on YouTube last night. I can't remember what season it was, but it was the season Blackpool went down. And there was literally Blackpool, Wigan, Birmingham, Wolves, and another team. I can't remember who it was. All 5 that could have gone down, and at some point,
Crystal Palace. Just trying to remember, I think it was Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I think all of them at some point were in those bottom 3. I think whoever was bottom was already down. And I think Wolves stayed up literally by not winning. But they lost 3-2, and they actually stayed up on goal difference because they had, by getting their second goal, they bettered whoever it was against on goal difference. So whether we deserve to stay up or not, there's plenty of teams, as they're not Brad before us, that have not deserved to stay up and have done.
Yeah, exactly that. And it doesn't matter whether you think as a fan that we deserve to stay up or not, because there's a case and an argument on both sides, and I probably agree with whatever they were saying because they make both points. It's not a case of whether we deserve to stay up or not. If you think we do, brilliant. If you think we don't, and we do stay up, and you still think we don't deserve to stay up, that's your prerogative. That's your point. The thing is, what's the most infamous saying in football is a season is a 38-game season. You don't decide if you're safe or down. You don't decide the title. You don't decide anything in the first 30 games of that season, unless you're really Derby County bad. Then you're down, right? Unless you're Derby County bad, in the first 30 games of the season, very rarely is anything decided. And that's in any league, let alone the Premier League, right? Unless you're having an absolute shocker, nothing's really decided with 8, 9, 10 games to go, whatever, right? So it doesn't matter if we've been terrible like we were at Fulham, doesn't matter if we were terrible and nicked a point at Leeds. What matters is come full time on the Sunday, have we got enough points on that board, and maybe with goal difference being the extra boosted point, the invisible point, if you will, in a scenario that we stay up that way, is have we done enough to be the 4th worst team in the league this season? I don't care that we've had the double done over us against Southampton. We've just drawn against a Champions League side. Yeah, I'll call them that because officially that's what they are. So, I don't care at that point. If come full time, we are 17th and the 4th worst team in the Premier League, then we've done just enough to deserve to stay up. And that's exactly how it is.
Southampton are close to announcing the appointment of Swansea City head coach Russell Martin as their new boss. Ruben Selles has departed, so he's not even given him the last game. He's gone, and it looks like this Russell Martin is going to be going to Southampton. Somebody we were linked with, David.
Yeah, he's not actually done anything, has he? He's not won anything. He's done. I don't know. Apparently, they're playing some pretty good football now. But you need somebody that's. I don't know. That is a championship manager, if you like. Oh, we've got one.
Yeah. But then again, in fairness, Brad, do we deserve anybody that's a winner? Would anybody that's a winner come to us? And we discussed Potter the other night, didn't we? But when we took on O'Neill, what had he won? But then again, when we took on Sousa, he played nice football.
Yeah, but again, another advantage Leicester have over most teams that come up to the Premier League is in the 90s, we weren't a fashionable side, were we? We had, a 20,000 seater, a proper old school stadium at Filbert Street, which was nice. We had
don't put it down because that is still burning.
No, Filbert Street will always be my favourite ground. But I'm putting it in terms of perspective of how a manager looked at us back then. I mean, you have to remember, and you know this rightly, Chris. We went through a stage in the 90s where managers wouldn't spend more than 6 months before they jumped ship to a bigger club. Mark McKee, what a wanker. And we nearly lost O'Neill in the same shade until the Leicester board grew up and went, no, we're sick of losing managers to other clubs. We don't want you talking to them. And O'Neill said, okay, I won't. I'll respect your wishes. But this time, and I've mentioned this a few times, and I'll keep mentioning it because whether you agree with it or not, again, is your own opinion, but it's pure fact. We have one of the best training facilities in the whole entire world. We have one of the more admirable grounds that has hosted European fixtures. Leicester have played in Europe. They've got recent success behind them. And even if this season we stay up or don't, we know we're losing the star players, but we have the ability to attract quality players to this club in a shrewd way. There isn't a manager out there that's half decent. I'm not saying world class. I'm not talking about your Klopps or managers like that, but a very good standard of manager wouldn't look at Leicester and go, you know what, if they come knocking, maybe I might just take them up on that offer. Because there's the politics side of football, if you will, the off the field antics of football, if you will, is what you look at. And in the 90s, would we have got someone like a Fergie to want to come to us after a few? No. Would we have got an Arsene Wenger wanting to come to us? No. Would we have got a Ruud Gullit or a Gianluca Vialli wanting to come to us?
Wallace.
No. You are?
We got a Jock Wallace. He'd just taken Rangers to 9 in a row.
Yeah, but look what Brendan Rodgers did. So that tells you about Scottish football.
3.
I know, but still, you know what I'm saying? I get that he was a very fashionable manager, but we had Sven-Göran Eriksson as well, so that tells you that sometimes we can talk a manager into it, but I don't see why genuine, decent, standing managers like Pochettino, if they weren't taking the toxic Chelsea job, which he has, wouldn't have considered Leicester had our safety been secured.
Has that been confirmed, Poch, to Chelsea?
Not by Chelsea, I don't think, is it?
Not by Chelsea, but it's like a Sky thing. It's one of them, like when it's
I just didn't know. Yeah. I haven't seen it confirmed. I mean, we'll come on to a second because I have got a thought about what we're going to touch on next. But I just want to finish off with this Great Escape 2. Is it better, Dave, and I asked this of Brad the other day, but I'm going to ask it to you now because you weren't there then. Is it better that we need the win rather than the fact that we know a draw would do it? Because, you know, if we knew a draw would do it, then that's always risky, isn't it? And I mean, if we'd beaten Newcastle, that would have given us that would have put us on the same points as Everton, but a draw would have taken us up on goal difference. Is that a dangerous position to be in? Is it not better to need the win?
It depends on the mentality of the management. I think if you need a draw, but you still try and win, then that's the safety net. I think if you play for the draw, that's dangerous. Yeah, and that's why it was dangerous on Monday, because I'm clearly playing for the draw, but just one bit of luck against us, we'd have never come back from it. But I think you've got to go for the win, whatever. It's what it is. We've got to win. We should have had to win anyway. If we'd have beat Newcastle, we should still go for the win, and just see what happens then. Because so much could happen in extra time, in injury time, can't it? And it does, especially on the last day of the season.
Especially when Everton get 900 minutes to score a goal.
What is going on there, eh? For goodness sake. They've suddenly changed, haven't they? They've gone to the World Cup extra time, by the looks of it.
To be fair, and it is another topic that, but to be honest with you, if I paid to watch 90 minutes of football and they had 15 minutes on, good. If they've stopped for 15 minutes, that's 15 minutes that I've paid for that I've not seen because of the pansies falling around all over the place.
Yeah, but if they'd have done it all season...
Anyway, that is another topic for another day.
Yeah, but
he's like, no, stop now.
Yeah, that's my polite DJ way of saying,
I have the power to cut you off.
No, you know that. But we do get distracted. Bring it up at the end, and we can again, like I say, in that time, and we'll have a chat about it. But I just want to round off this Great Escape thing. Again, we know a team should always go for the win, Brad, but we also know it doesn't happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the phrase "park in the bus."
Yes. And
as fans, I think if we'd have won against Newcastle, I'd be running around pool naked because I'd be so happy. But then I'd be, when reality sort of sits in, I'm thinking, well, hang on, yeah, we could get away with just a draw here. And the longer it goes on and it goes on, I'm not thinking about winning. I'm thinking about holding on. And then you're in a completely different mindset, aren't you?
Yeah, of course you are. And let's face it, if you look at Leicester throughout the season, and you could say the same under Brendan or under Dean Smith, Leicester don't cope with pressure well. I mean, all right, Newcastle they did in a sense because first clean sheet in 22 games, and they actually got. But I'm talking. I think you're kind of right. I think if Leicester suddenly found it back in their own hands again, it would make them nervous. I think this team is in a mental place, and Dave says it shows the mentality of the squad and maybe the management. We've got a little bit of an argument back to the manager's point, but in terms of the players, I get what he's saying, and maybe that's where Dean Smith is going. You know what? That's why I played for the draw at Newcastle, because yes, I wanted to win the game and put it in our hands, and that would have been ideal. But going into that last game of the season, even though they've got the advantage, and even though you'd say it's in their hands in terms of how the table lies, the nerves is more in their camp than it is ours, because then players go out on Sunday knowing if they just leave everything on the field again, like they did at Newcastle, and they get the win, that's all they can do. They can't. There's no other way for them to affect their own survival. It's just win, score goals, don't concede any, win the game.
Yeah.
And if at full time it turns out Everton have beaten Bournemouth 1-0, 3-0, whatever, then fine, we accept it.
Yeah.
But we just want to leave that pitch on a Sunday going, it might have only been 2 games and it might have been too late, but we did give everything to stay up.
Yeah.
For what we could do.
Dave, the pressure is on Everton, though, isn't it now? Because they know one slip up lets us in. Like Brad's just said, we could win and still not stay up, but as long as we do what we've got to do. But Everton are the team that literally is looking over the shoulders, because they know, like I said, if they don't win, that they're going to possibly let Leicester or Leeds, not just Leicester, Leeds obviously as well in.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I can't see it like that. We've still got to win, no matter what.
Yeah, no, we've got to win. But what I'm saying is the pressure not on Everton more because they've got to win as well?
Well, if it's 0-0 after 75 minutes at the King Power, then I think we'll feel a bit of pressure, no matter what Everton are doing. I mean, the worst scenario would be we draw, an Everton draw. That would
Have you ever thought about being a politician, Dave? Because you don't like answering the questions, do you?
Well, I've been a Leicester supporter for 60 years, for Christ's sake. I mean,
I'm asking you a question about Everton.
How am I supposed to know what's going to happen with Leicester? I mean, I went through the Coventry stay up when we lost out on goal difference to Coventry, for crying out loud.
Do you know Boris at all? Is he a friend of yours? Were you at that party? Look.
Okay, if you want the pressure on Everton, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Go on, Nancy! Right. I'm going to look at what's coming up, and then we are going to be talking managerial positions.
Coming up next on Leicester Till I Die TV.
It's going to be a busy week. Brad is literally moving in with me. I've made the bed up, Brad. Just remember to get your tenor men on. Don't want you wet in the bed still at night. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we're going to have Jake on from West Ham, unofficial, along with Craig from Up the Cherries in all departments. I do like a nice snapping title for a YouTube channel. And just to give us his thoughts on playing Everton, and then obviously we'll be talking to Jake about the game. Friday, it's the last prediction show of the season. Saturday lunchtime, hopefully at 1 o'clock, if we can get an Everton fan on, we'll be doing a relegation special between the 3 teams. And then, of course, we've got the game itself. Kicking off at 3:30, I believe, is it? Or 4:30 it kicks off?
4:30.
I think it's 4:30 on Sunday. I think it's always been 4:30.
We're live at 3:30 with the watch along. maybe a West Ham fan coming on that as well just before, and when we're live for the team announcement. Keep me calm, Brad. Don't let me go mad, and then realise I've got to apologise to Dean Smith again.
It's all right. What I'll do is when you see 3 central defensive midfielders, you start screaming. I'll say to you, "Remember Newcastle," and I will remind you how it works.
Please do. Monday at 9 o'clock. We're not sure what it's going to. Well, sorry, no. Sunday night at 9 o'clock, I should say. We've got the relaunch show. When we'll be going through the whole. Well, everything is going to be. Well, not everything, but 99% of things are going to be changing for next season. 1 or 2 things have already started to happen, and I've sort of been easing them in. But there is a huge announcement that's going to be coming. Is there not, Brad? Which we're looking forward to.
Yes, very much so.
Monday night.
Well, it's lovely to have been with you then.
Sorry?
Lovely to have been here for a while.
Oh, God, did you tell him we were sacked, Chris? For God's sake. That was our Sunday surprise.
I'm waiting till the end of the show, and then I'm going to pay him off for 6 months' wages.
I'd have paid
that was
45.
Field, wasn't it? Monday night at 8, we are going to either have a Goodbye Premier League or an end of season review, depending which way it goes. On Tuesday, it's the big one. Brad versus Steve Lynex in the Big Fat Leicester quiz. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we've got the Stay or Go. Who do we sack, as in players, and who do we keep? Brad will be joining me on that. Then on the Thursday, we've got the alternative awards show. So rather than the Young Player of the Year, it'll be the shittiest Player of the Year and all those sort of the worst games and all those sort of things. And the March is not going to be included in it. Put your hand down, Dave. Put your hand down. That will be on Thursday at 8. And then on Friday at 8, we are going to be we're going to rate all the Premier League team seasons and say whether they were, as expected, better, or in Leicester's case, worse. But, Dave, whilst you're still with us...
I'm still.
Managers. In a way, going down is almost like an excuse to clear. I mean, look at what Burnley did last year. They went down, they got virtually rid of virtually the whole squad and got a new squad in, and look what it did to them. Obviously, if we stay up, it does make us more attractive. Either way, we need a certain amount of managers, a certain type of manager. If we go down, Dean Smith, something like that knows how to get the team back up. But in the Premier League, we don't want the Sam Allardyce or somebody like that is going to just keep us up. We want somebody with experience that maybe will attract players. Who knows? But are you thinking we keep Dean Smith whichever way because he has got teams up and he did keep Villa up, or do we go for somebody new?
I kind of think we keep him. That's been I haven't really thought too much about it till Sunday night, but that's my immediate thought, yeah. Especially with Craig Shakespeare there, and I'd get rid of John Terry, to be honest, but there you go. So, yeah, I'd give him a chance to bring us back because it's happened before, hasn't it, with Leicester? Did it happen with Mickey Adams and Rob Kelly, or one of them anyway?
Mickey Adams got the job after Dave Bassett couldn't keep us up, and then we didn't lose a game for like that. I think we even drew with Man United, didn't we? And we didn't lose any of our last games, and he got given the job that way.
And then brought us straight back up, didn't he?
Yeah, and I got a feeling Rob Kelly did as well, but I could be wrong on that one.
No, you might be right. I think he came in after... Because then we went back down, didn't we? And then he left in October.
In the second tier.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he didn't take us down or take us up.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But then Levine came in after that. But yeah, Rob Kelly came in after.
Oh, God. Sorry, I thought somebody just walked over me grave then. You said the L word. So the thing is,
I'd keep
John
him.
Terry would stay because he didn't want to get back into football, did he? But he's come back in for this because it was short term. I think Craig Shakespeare would stay, and I don't think I'd want Dean Smith if Craig Shakespeare wasn't staying. If we keep them, has it got to be the package of 3, Dave?
I guess so, yeah, because that's how they've been. I think John Terry is pretty impressed with the setup. I think he might stay to do a bit more learning. To be honest, we are a Premier club, aren't we? We just had a crap season.
Yeah.
No, Dave, we're an elite club. We are elite.
Sorry, elite. Oh yeah, Scott, didn't they pay you off?
How
mate?
many times
Hang
have I
on,
got to remind people?
Elite.
So please just remember that. Scott and
Wow.
Mike are complaining they've not had their wages.
Yeah.
In the checks in the post, guys. What about you, Brad? First of all, let's talk about Dean, Craig, and John Terry, because I did an interview with Capital East Midlands, which I'm not sure what time it's going out, but sometime before the game. Listen out if you listen to. I think it's Capital EM and Smooth. I've done the interview with, and they said to me about it. Was Dean Smith the right appointment? And I think we accepted Dean Smith because of Craig Shakespeare.
Yeah, I think he became that option because that's the manager he went to work under after he got sacked as our manager. He was for a temporary charge. We have to remember Shaky was in charge of the lads, and I'd really be up for Dean Smith because I think what we've actually forgotten because of that, is yes, Leeds game was poor, and the changes are what saved us getting a point in that game. Yes, Fulham was disastrous, right? But you want to talk about a season that kind of sets you up for giving a CV, saying, look, I want the job. If you're going to offer it me, I'll take it, sort of thing. He's brought a goodwill factor in Shakespeare. He's brought the experience in John Terry. Now, John Terry's gushed about our training facilities, and I agree with Dave. I think I think he's the sort of person that says, if it's back at Leicester, I'll stay with you, sort of thing. With what you were saying about him at football, Shaky's just a nailed-on appointment. But there's another reason I'd take Dean Smith, and I know Dave said it a little bit, maybe tongue-in-cheek, but he said, talk about having a championship manager and Dean Smith. He signed a contract for 8 games, and we are 7 games of them 8 games in, okay? Since his arrival, we have picked up 6 points, 1 win and 3 draws, right? And our 3 defeats, all right, Fulham away was awful, but they were away to Man City and at home to Liverpool, who, okay, Liverpool had a dodgy start, but Liverpool have now won 7 or 8 on the bounce, right? So they've been impressive end form. Man City, thanks to Arsenal, ended up strolling to the title, but they were an unstoppable force. So if you kind of rip them games off and said they don't count, we don't really count them, he has only lost 1 in 5 in that scenario. Now, when was the last time Leicester managed in 7 games to pick up 6 points? I think maybe that Villa, Tottenham back to back, because then we went 7 games before we drew with Brentford. We haven't had a spell of this sort of positivity where if Leicester do beat West Ham, forget the outcomes and scenarios with Leeds and Everton for a second. If Leicester do beat words make sense, Brad, do beat West Ham, he would have managed more points than he had games in charge. He'd get 9 points out of them 8 games. And you've said it before, Chris, and I've agreed with you. Would we have got the points we've already got under him if Brendan was still in charge? I don't think so. So I certainly don't think Brendan would have somehow found a way to get us 9 points out of these last 8 games. You know me, I don't like football and stats because sometimes they really don't perceive the game that you watch. But if you're looking at a record as a manager to go, well, look at my results, look at what I got for you in my 8-game stay, I would look at that if I was top and go, yeah, you know what, I can let you off the Man City and Liverpool games. We'll talk about the Fulham one, but the other games, the other games you've played, the other 5 games, you've got us undefeated. So yeah, okay, give you a 2-year or a 3-year deal, let you rebuild this club. You've earned the right to, and I'd back him 100%.
It's interesting what Jack Grealish said about him, wasn't it, when they were at Villa?
I can't remember what he said about him.
It'd be ideal for Maddison, to be honest, to manage Maddison, because he just let him have the freedom of the pitch and just said, go and do your stuff, cause trouble.
I think Grealish was more of a Villa man than Maddison is ever going to be.
Yeah. But I mean, the style of player, fall over a lot.
Yeah.
But you could do that with Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
You could, yeah. You could.
I know why a lot of people, when we're talking about, I mean, God's sake, we could have had Jesse Marsh and yes,
we'd be relegated.
But
didn't you want him, Chris?
Sorry,
didn't you want Jesse Marsh?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, I would have taken
Mickey Mouse.
Harold Chipman. I really would. Well, he was. Let's face it, he was working at the in the health department at Seagrave anyway. It's not called Seagrave for nothing. But look, we know that every club has its knobhead fans. We know that, don't we?
Yeah.
And
or if you're Arsenal, we just call them supporters.
Yeah, this is true. But Leicester's has them just as much as any other club. And all right, Gurinder, I think Gurinder was either her tongue firmly planted in her cheek, or she was pissed. I'm not sure which.
Planted somewhere.
We know, the real fans know that we are in this position because we tried to live with the top, the big six. We did it for a couple of seasons. We tried to live with them. Unlike Newcastle, we hadn't got that back in, although God knows what might have been had it not been for COVID. But thinking, we always say, changing managers, we're going to get this big name in. But surely it's a Dean Smith type manager that we will need for next season, because we're not now. We're not going to go around and win the league next season like we did before if we stay up. It will all be about consolidation, won't it?
Yeah, you're talking about big names. We've never really had a big name manager apart from the guy you mentioned, Jot Wallace, and that was Scotland.
Yeah.
So we've not really. I mean, Sven, okay, yeah. I mean, he was England manager, so.
No, but what I'm saying is the fans were always calling for those.
It was never going to happen, was it? In reality, Rodgers was the biggest name that we could hope for.
We've always been like a middle class, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've never wowed anybody with our management appointments. Well, you could say we wowed them with the appointment of Ranieri, but I was in that small group that was impressed with that manager appointment. A certain big-eared Walker's Chris Cleater wasn't so impressed with it. He was wowing for the wrong reasons. But yeah, I think we've always been a bit middle class with our hiring.
Yeah, I think we've not always had big names. I mean, Rodgers, I think we all got kind of sucked in with Rodgers that, he was Liverpool manager, but he did fuck all at Liverpool, or he was Celtic manager and he's won all this stuff at Celtic. And when you actually look at it, well, there was no Rangers for 2/3 of his 3 seasons there. So, it's. But what I'm saying is, though, I mean, and I say ask you as well, Brad, is Dean Smith more the type of manager that we need now rather than I'm not saying a Pochettino, but you know what I'm saying?
I think for the period that we're potentially going to go through, let's not potential about it. It's either slightly better because we're a Premiership side, or slightly easier to do if we're still in a Premier League side and it's a Championship side. But there's a major rebuild, and you probably need, pardon the pun here for any Newcastle fans, but you probably need someone like a Steady Eddie in charge. You need somebody who's going to come in, fresh ideas, fresh mindset, no favourites, not see Leicester as a stepping stone, but see Leicester as a chance to build a career, make a name for himself, and take this club, and they take the job thinking, I'm at least doing 5 years here. I'm going to get Leicester back. I'm going to rebuild Leicester. I'm the man that can rebuild Leicester, and over that 5-year period, gets us back up to potentially doing what Brighton have done this year, and that by, getting us ready to start fighting for Europe. A lot of Leicester fans, Chris, and you've touched on it already. A point: the true Leicester fans have always felt that as good as it's been and as amazing as it's been, and we've enjoyed every second of it, we've always felt that we were actually ahead of our own plan. weren't we?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we were.
when we, I think we just won promotion back from League One, or it might have been when we were in League One, that our owners came out and made a statement that they wanted us to be in a position to challenge for European football in 5 years' time. And we all laughed and joked about it. It was like, oh, come on. Yeah, okay, we might get in the Championship this season, but we were stuck in there for 3 or 4 seasons. And look what happened. That's what I mean. We've always felt we're ahead of our own ideas and plans. And maybe, and obviously we'd love it if we managed to stay up and do it, but maybe this is what we needed in a way. We needed this season to make us have to rebuild. So we do it the way, because it's felt rushed, hasn't it? Everything's felt a little bit rushed. Like we had to win the FA Cup against Chelsea because we might not do it. We might not ever get a chance to do it again. And
were we, do you think, Dave, look, when we won the Premier League, as Brad just said then, we weren't expecting it. The famous meme is that accidental moment when you're trying to avoid relegation and win the Premier League, which we all love. But it wasn't expected, and we weren't quite ready for it. And the sort of players that we suddenly discovered that we were shopping at Waitrose rather than Aldi, and we were going for these players that really were shit when you look at it. All right, you could say with Slimani wasn't, we didn't play to his strengths. Musa wasn't paid in the right positions, but then they shouldn't have been bought. If we're not going to use them like that, so. In a way, we're almost we couldn't handle being successful, could we?
Excuse me. No, we handled it in Europe in the Champions League pretty well. The reason we didn't handle it the next year after the titles because Ranieri decided to play his sort of football instead of the way Leicester play. And you're right on that basis. Yeah, we didn't play to the players' strengths. We played to the way he wanted to play. And that's what Rodgers has been doing. That's why it went wrong. You want to play sideways? Yeah, you can't do that. We ain't good enough. Excuse me, guys. I need a beer.
You need a fag by the sound of it.
He needs another holiday to Australia.
Yeah.
Much give me a sore throat.
You noticed when he was in Australia, that was when we won a game and drew 2. Maybe you should go back there.
Yeah, piss off, Dave. We'll clump together. We'll save up for you to go away.
I just if I get a flight by Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. Here's one for you, Brad. Here's one for you. I don't think you'll make it to the end of the show, if I'm honest with you.
I'm going to get a glass of water. Hold on.
Yes, okay.
If he doesn't come back, someone call the. No, Scott. Straight off, no. I do not want Gerrard here. He's managing in the Dutch league. Leave him to his home club. Leave him there.
Are you saying this, Brad?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let him. Can we stop rushing ex-players into the Premier League in management roles? Can we not just let them develop? And I know Vincent Kompany has only done a year at Burnley, but then again, having to live in Burnley is like a prison sentence. So he's done his time. He deserves a chance to manage it, at least in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all joking aside, Lampard has failed twice at Chelsea, once at Everton. It's impressive to fail at the same club twice, right? Scott Parker, the most glamorous thing about him as a manager with his £9,000 jacket. Steven Gerrard.
His cardigan.
Jacket, cardigan, it costs £9,000. I don't care what you call it. It's stupid. Steven Gerrard, the second he lost that I'm Steven Gerrard ego and players didn't care for his name and went, I don't care, mate, that was 20 years ago, you old git. He fell out with players. Tyrone Mings was the obvious name there that came up in us. Look what happened. Villa went, and then they had to get an experienced manager in, and now look where they are. They're banging on the door at Europe. No. Any ex-player, Xavi Alonso, before any of you people, before Scott, before you say it, right? Before you say Xavi Alonso, no, he's at Bayer Leverkusen, leave him there. No, right, okay, Boris, I'm not saying you can't be an ex-player and then not become a manager, right? You probably just type that in the second you've heard me say no to ex-players, right? Go and check Pep Guardiola's record as manager. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. He has been at these clubs for several years. Okay, that's the sort of pedigree I accept from an ex-player. Would I take Arteta? No, we already have decent water in Leicester. I said that a bit tongue-in-cheek. But again, I would rather Arteta over Van Nistelrooy because at least he's got experience managing in the Premier League for a fair few years. But just let these ex-players develop. He's managing, like I say, he's managing the Dutch league.
And he's done it right, in fairness. He's gone to Burnley, who have got Premier League history.
Mm.
Yes, they've gone down. And let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago that Burnley were in Europe. But
yes, very
they
true.
went down. But, he didn't go and just jump in at a Liverpool or something like that. He's gone and learnt his trade like Martin O'Neill did.
Yeah, very true. And that's what you need. You need a manager that's been around a bit, earned it, and not been handed the job.
Yeah.
He wasn't handed the job like Lampard was. Because, let's face it, Lampard's expertise on his CV for the Everton job and Chelsea job was, I bottled the playoffs with Derby and Leeds.
Mm.
Sorry. What? And that's what we want installed at... No. I mean, if Van Nistelrooy comes over and manages a Norwich for 2 seasons and gets them promoted and actually keeps them up, then I'll think about Van Nistelrooy. Or if he goes to a stronger foreign club and wins them stuff in the next 3 or 4 years, then I'll listen to Van Nistelrooy to Leicester. But until then...
But then, Dave, just to play devil's advocate here, if we get relegated, Van Nistelrooy coming to Leicester is a bit like Van Nistelrooy going to Norwich.
I didn't like to say that.
Not like you to hold back.
Not being pedantic, I thought you were talking about Casper when I came back.
Sorry?
I thought you were talking about Casper.
No.
Me and Chris have beaten that debate into the ground, haven't we, Chris, about Casper?
There's nothing to bring it back up again if you've got time in a second. Dave, something that me and Brad again touched on recently is that, Graham Potter, he did extremely well at Brighton. Let's be honest with you, I was his biggest critic. Everybody was saying, sun shines out his bottom, he'll be the next England manager, this and this. And, I said, look, go and prove it. And in fairness, he was proving it with Brighton. He then went to Chelsea. And as I say, I still honestly think it wasn't a job he could turn down, because you never know when these jobs are going to come along again. Even if Leicester go down, is it not an attractive proposition for Potter? Is it not a good fit? Because we are like Brighton. We're not a Chelsea. You could argue we're not even a Brighton now, but we are more in the Brighton mould. With the size of the club, etc. We've got, as we've been saying, this fantastic training facility. Is that not a good fit for both? It would let Potter rebuild his career, and maybe, look, whoever we get in, we're not going to keep hold of if he's successful, because we're Leicester and we're not a bigger club. So is that not a good fit for both of us?
It's a good fit for him. I would argue that looking at what Brighton have done since he left, then it was more down to their support staff and their recruitment that did it.
But then that was the support staff and recruitment were there when he was there as well.
Yeah, they were, and that's why he was doing okay. But you expect when a manager like that goes, the team probably drops. They didn't. They got better.
Yeah, I mean,
two words I'd say to that, Brad: Pearson, Ranieri.
Yeah, I mean, you could always say you're going off the momentum of it, and there is a degree to that. But I'd like to say with what Dave said as well is Brighton were always fairly decent for most of the season. Yeah, they'd end up finishing. I think we joke that they always finished on the same points and the same position every year, but they never really looked in danger of ever going down for the few seasons they've been up. Obviously, this season is absolutely miraculous. But the biggest difference, if you ask any Brighton fan out there, is they were 1-0s, weren't they? They were 1-0s, 1-alls. Their biggest result was 1-all. I think they got like 11 1-all draws last season. Season before, it was 11 or 12. So that was their scoreline. I mean, the prediction show would have been easy this season if Brighton started Potter, because I'd be predicting 1-all every week and we'd be picking up 3 points. But you look at their results when this guy's come in. Now, maybe he has had the Ranieri effect where he's just let the players do what they want, be a bit more adventurous, because they're winning games 3-0, 4-1. 2-0, and
take over a successful club than a struggling club, though, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. You ride the coattails, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
Of that.
Yes. Having talking about Brighton, 76 minutes gone, and it is currently 1-1.
Potter's back.
you just played into the arms there, didn't
I did.
you?
Yeah.
So we have some more. PSV Eindhoven head coach Ruud van Nistelrooy has left before the final game of the season because of a lack of support within the club, a club statement said. So he is available, Brad, but can I just...
Yeah, and when Leeds get relegated, he can take over there and have them down in League One.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I am just reading this at the moment, Martin O'Neill's autobiography, it's autobiography, and they are still available, and you don't pay extra for it, but they are still available signed at the KP if you order them. And I just want to read you this because I know. First of all, I can hear the thuds of everybody falling over that Chris can read. Bloody hell. But yes, it's true.
It's a pop-up book, people.
That's Playboy, isn't it?
Right. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, that's something else that pops up.
I'm still going.
There you go. So, this is when, just before, Martin O'Neill was about to play his first game under Brian Clough at Nottingham Forest. Clough had obviously won at Derby, won the title. Hadn't had it so good at Leeds, obviously. 10 minutes before kick-off, he walks through the door, much to our relief. The room falls silent and he begins to speak. I am startled when he addresses me directly. And I can't do an accent, so don't expect it. Son, this is a simple game. It only becomes bloody complicated if you make it complicated. Try and get the ball for a start, because we can't play without it. And when you do get it, just pass it to a red shirt and make an angle for your mate to give it to you if he needs to. Couldn't be simpler, could it? I don't think Brendan's read that, has he?
No, he certainly didn't. I'd say that much.
It's a simple game, isn't it? Or it should be.
It's only as complicated as you choose to make it, let's face it.
Yes.
I mean, he's very right. I mean, Dean Smith's got him trying to do that, hasn't he? It's like I said, I feel like it was so long ago, Chris. I love to, watch the training videos and as much Leicester as I can to try and get a feel for how it's going in the dressing room, what he's trying to work on and everything. And I can't remember the last time I heard 5-yard pass, 5-yard pass, keep it on the toes, 5-yard pass. I haven't heard that in 7 weeks, mate. It's been bliss watching the training videos.
Now, in fairness to Dave, I did say I'd come back to it, but I can't really remember what the topic was. But what was the one that I shut down earlier and I said we'd come back to?
Injury time.
Sorry?
Injury time, was it?
No, I don't think it was it, Brad? Can you remember?
It's one of the three. But I can't remember the other two. And then, was it Casper?
Oh, it might have been, yeah.
It wasn't. No. I know because I've written Casper down here. Well, let's talk Casper then, because I can't remember what it was. But I did say I'd come back. So sorry, Dave, but you had your chance.
Right. Thank you. Casper. It's good to have a chance.
Yes, that's more than Phil got on the Good Morning. And I'm getting an echo again. So if I'm going to mute you between bits, or do you want to mute yourself, Brad?
I'll mute myself and then
Yeah,
let me
then you
know.
can unmute when you want to say something. Yeah. So let's talk Casper, because I did talk about it the other day with Brad, because of course Brad is in the goalkeepers union, as we know.
Yeah, why not?
Surely
I've never mentioned it though, Dave.
No.
his time's gone, though, hasn't it, Dave?
Well, it has to be a goalkeeper for us, yeah. But certainly, goalkeeper coach, assistant manager, maybe. I mean, that guy's got. If we'd have had that guy's passion this year, we wouldn't be where we are now. In the changing rooms, can you imagine who's taken over from Casper in the changing room? He used to come on and do interviews and say it's not acceptable, it's not good enough. We've got to sort it out, and he'd tell them. I can't see Vardy doing that, or Johnny Evans, or anybody like that. I can't see anybody screaming at them. Brendan Rodgers, I can't see it. I mean, that's the thing that's got me most of the season is the lack of passion. We need to bring that passion in, and maybe next year, if Smith and John Terry and Shakespeare are appointed officially, they might bring that passion back. Because I assume John Terry doesn't really want to give out bollockings to the central defenders, as he's only going to be here for a few days.
Yeah.
But maybe, just maybe, they could do that. I think Smith is definitely passionate about it, and it's what we've been missing. I mean, Bradbury's gone about the clapping seal on the side, and Katey, my wife, said, "Well, at least he's not screaming and shouting at his players." Well, I wish he was.
Yeah. I've seen more passion come out of Dean Smith in these 7 games than I have out of Brendan Rodgers in 58 games, whatever it was he's been with, or more than that. Obviously, he's been with us. But I mean, Brad, I think it was right for Casper to go. I think people are, thinking because Ward had such a bad time and Everson, he's done all right since he's come in. Of course, he's had the odd flap, and it's highlighted more because the whole team's doing badly. But then again, the defence in front of both of them has been absolutely shite. It is his leadership we miss, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the problem is, when we've had that before, and I've mentioned Wes Morgan before in comparison to Casper, because he's a voice in the dressing room. He's always been a voice in the dressing room. Okay, admittedly, from my experience when I worked down at the training ground, a bit more polite and a bit more smooth in the edges, and not as brash as Casper is when he needs to be. And you're always going to miss that influence in the dressing room. But as a goalkeeper, was it the right decision to move on from him? Yes, it was. And bringing him back would be doing more harm than good to our long-term goalkeeper situation, in the terms that Iverson is not going to want to sit back on the bench for a season or two just to wait for Casper to retire. He's not going to do that. He's going to say, hold on a minute, I was good enough for Preston, so I'm good enough for Leicester. I've got Premier League experience now. I'm good enough to play in the Premier League. I am Garinda. Sorry. So I am Iverson. I am elite. So I'm good enough to stay in the Premier League. So you won't want to do that.
Do you think,
you are?
Dave, when we're looking at it now, that we're just going to call Brad Nippon here because we're getting a tour of his house. What are you eating there, Brad? What are you eating? Oh, no. Oh, that's better. I mean, if it's Nippon, he'd have been having a Chinese takeaway by now. Joking aside, Dave. Yeah, there's more to it, I think, wasn't there? Do you think that Rodgers was Casper maybe not necessarily poking the bear, but was he saying things that and Rodgers, or disagreeing with Rodgers? Let's just
definitely. I mean, he's not short of saying what he thinks, is he? I mean, I think he's come out and said the league-winning side was Nigel Pearson's, and I don't think he'd be too shy to tell Brendan Rodgers what he thought.
No.
So I think it was the right thing for Casper to do. I don't know whether he'd have played so much this year. I still don't get this stigma with Danny Ward. I mean, I saw most of the games live that Danny Ward played in, and our defence were terrible. And I'm a goalkeeper as well, or used to be. And I tell you, playing behind that defence would frighten the crap out of me.
This is just like a scene off of I Got News for You, and there's the three pictures, and it's spot the odd one out. You know, we've got we've got two other goalkeepers, one below me Scottish, and one to the right of me is Australian, and between them, well, what can I say? No,
I just don't think this Danny Ward baiting has done us
yeah,
any
but I
favour.
agree. I
And
agree.
I
No
don't think
goalkeeper can do
Everton's
that.
made some good saves. But I tell you what, where was it? At Southampton, even was it? Ward was it? No, it couldn't have been at Southampton, could it? It's where he saved a penalty. It was, wasn't it? He was man of the match.
Yeah.
You know, and he's not done. Okay, he's made the odd mistake, but so's Everson. And I don't get it. I really don't get it.
No, I agree. I think he took a lot of criticism. I think he needed to be taken. Let's be honest with you, it happened with Pickford at Everton. He was dropped and taken out of the firing line because sometimes that's what a play needs to be done. But the defence in front of him, you could. I think I said at the time, I think Battle backed me up on this, that he could have had Ward, Peter Shilton, and Gordon Banks behind that defence and would have still lost goals. You know, but look. We've come up to over an hour and a half now, so it's the last question I'm going to ask you both. And I heard this being discussed, and I thought, oh, that's a good question. Manchester City, I'll go to Brad first with this one. Manchester City could win the treble this season. Will Manchester City's treble be looked at in the same light that Manchester United's was?
Only by Noel Gallagher, but no, not really. Not really, because, yeah, Manchester United were at the start of the cusp of one of the most brutal and brilliant Premier League outlets we saw and probably will ever see. Because, you know, you have to remember in '99, people are thinking, oh, well, they won 13 titles, they won this, they won that under Fergie.
Red balloons that year as well, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, 99 of them.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. I'm with you on it. I know where you're going, don't worry. But in '99, it was only just the start of that. It wasn't like Manchester United had 12 league titles at that point. They'd only just started winning titles and stuff. And it wasn't expected. They weren't expected to, you know, go and win that league that season because Arsenal were a really good side back then. I mean, I'm sure Anthony struggles to remember them days, but Arsenal actually were, popular to contrary belief, actually a decent side that could win stuff. Yeah. You know, even like the likes of Newcastle's were up there at early points in the 90s. So it wasn't sort of obvious, if you'd like, you know. Man City has always been on the cards. I mean, the Manchester City Cup, it's the first time they've not won that in about 10 years. And the Premier League, they're bog standard trophies they've been getting for 5-6 years. So the treble has always been around the corner for them to do. They've just, I suppose, to their standards, it's their form of bottling it. You know, Champions League finals or not winning the FA Cup. So it's still an impressive feat. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's still impressive, but it doesn't lay a glove on Manchester United's one. And it will literally only be the snobby arseholes like Noel Gallagher and them Man City fans that will say it's better than United's. It don't even lay a glove on what Manchester United did in terms of expectations. In realism, it just doesn't. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
I never thought we'd be saying that, but would you agree, Dave?
I do. I agree totally. I mean, Man United did it the Leicester way, didn't they? They brought kids through. They brought the odd player now and again, as in Cantona maybe or Rio Ferdinand. And that's how they did it all the way along, all the way. Man City have just broken all the rules. That's what makes it bittersweet. I saw Guardiola say, we want to get this finance thing sorted out as quick as possible. Well, their solicitors will make sure they don't, because the longer it drags on, the more diluted it becomes and the less important it becomes. They get away with it.
Can we just make sure Man City get away with it at least long enough to not get stripped of this title, just so Arsenal can't claim they've won the league? Then they can get punished. I'm not biased with my own FFP arguments there. I'm just saying.
I was kind of hoping they might relegate them so we could stay up, even if we only get a draw.
Well,
What's happened to Everton's points deduction?
Well,
Pending what league they're in. Pending what league they're in. That's what that is, Dave.
that's the thing. I've said right from the word go that the Premier League will leave it until they get relegated and then pass it over to the EFL to sort out because the Premier League haven't got the balls to make a decision. But anyway, look. I mean, for me, at the time we looked at United winning the treble, and we said, "Do you know what? They've bought that. All right, I know they had a lot of the youngsters through, but they were the biggest club, and if anybody was going to do it, they were, or Liverpool were probably going to be one of the two teams that did it. And never did we think there'd be another club that would come on and possibly do the same and go, do you know what? They bought it as well. They bought it more than United, but I think at least United did it with a fair splattering of homegrown players.
And your other argument could be you look at Man City doing it. They've had to buy an Aguero. They brought a Balotelli. They brought a Yaya Toure. You look at that United signed. Not only was it mainly youngsters or homegrown players, but Andy Cole came from Newcastle. Dwight York, I mean, didn't they get him from Villa?
Yeah.
Maybe the odd player came from elsewhere, but that side majority.
Babes, do you?
Oh, of course. Obviously, they had to pay the fees for them, but I mean, let's not forget they also nearly brought an Alan Shearer at one point off Blackburn. So they could. I mean, I know that's something that they'll talk about, but it's not like they had to buy the imports. They didn't have a R9 Ronaldo. They didn't go out and bring him to United to bring the treble. They didn't bring Zidane in. They didn't bring in Raul or Figos or Ronaldinho's. If it had been like that, I would have said it's about even. But the fact that they did it from either within the club or poaching it off their rivals, I think it just makes it more impressive.
Be interesting to see how many English players they had in their team in comparison to the last 20 years winners.
I mean, who the fuck wins a treble with a guy called Nicky Butt in the team?
Yeah.
Come on, who does that?
England midfielder, don't you be knocking Mr. Butt.
You'll have no ifs, ands or buts on it, will you?
It was very good at tackling from behind.
Luna was joking there somewhere.
How does wife feel about that?
Just me being cheeky. Gentlemen, unless there's anything you two want to bring up.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for the last year, and it's been a pleasure. I'm sorry
you don't get a chance. Not live. You don't get a chance. Look, what's your name? You see, I've forgotten you already, Dave. We have got a lot of shows next week, so I will be contacting you about any you want to come on. And I'm not.
What about Harry though? You're going to ask Harry to come on as well?
No. He had his chance, Harry. He's gone. Hey, how many weeks has it been? I was just thinking then it's been ages. But we're not having Dave on the buy or sell one because we know when it comes to a certain player what way he'd be voting. Marty. But Dave, it's been a pleasure, sir. I will speak to you, like I say, and get you on as much as we can next week.
Fingers crossed for Sunday.
Fingers crossed. You're going, so
I'll send you a video
if you can, and hopefully your daughter can hold on to the phone this time and not drop it into the footwell.
The wife's going this time. The daughter's away.
Oh, you said sorry.
She's up north, yeah.
God, the wife's going. That's such a. It's going to be a double misery time, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night, I'll tell you.
Tell everybody you went about your prog rock, sir. Get your prog rocks out for the ladies.
Actually, that'll be on first Saturday of the month, 6 o'clock. SurreyHillsRadio.co.uk. Don't miss it.
And you can also get it on your smart speaker as well.
You get it everywhere.
Yes.
Enable Surrey Hills Community Radio. And
it's a bit like chlamydia. It spreads itself all over.
Okay, well, it's nice to talk to you as usual, Chris.
You need a good breakfast, DJ. That's what it is.
Well, we get him
All the best, mate. And
Thanks, mate.
I'll
See you,
speak
Brad.
to you.
Be good.
See you later, mate.
Take care, mate.
Take
Bye bye.
care. See you. Bye.
Bye bye. Brad, at Full Time Focus on Twitter. If
Yeah.
people want to join in with the prediction next year, the prediction show, we're doing the prediction league, and Steve Lynex has very, very kindly put up quite a nice package of prizes. About there's a sweatshirt, a hoodie, a beanie. There's 5 things in there. It's a really good package from his.
No, didn't put one up while he's losing this season, though, does he? That was conspiracy theories.
I think he knows. I think he's already decided sort of who's going to be winning this season.
Oh, yeah, that's a consolation prize. He told me in the message.
No.
Although you'll be happy to know that regardless of the result tonight, you will still hold your 1-point lead until further notice because you.
Oh, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point.
To be fair, that's my face every time you say you have to agree with me.
Yeah, but I'm only doing it for the camera.
It's very true, people. Help.
So get following Brad, and there will be more news about that once we know what division we're in next season. If you can stay on, Brad, there's another quick word for you before you go, and I will see you Friday.
Yes, because no, am I not on with you tomorrow? Or is that Craig back?
By the team.
I'll do the team. Craig's on the show. Thank God. Cause...
Craig didn't see the last game. He was in Madrid.
Oh yeah. So well, can you go back there? Can we? We got. It's going to be expensive. We need to start a GoFundMe page. We need to send Craig to Madrid and Dave back to Australia.
I'll start a GoFundMe page. But, so if you can supply what you think on who's available, obviously, and on the performance, and then he can discuss it. And then on Friday with the last prediction show of the season.
Yeah, I can't wait for the EPL to get back to me and see if I can fudge the results for it. I mean, do it fairly and hope I win that one.
I'm going to be writing everything down now.
He's going to save the clip onto his phone and laptop.
Exactly. But if you can let me know the standings, obviously ready in time for the show to do the graphic, and Friday, and also obviously your team lineup for Thursday as well, please.
Yes, I will do, mate. You might be happy with some news, actually. It was on one of the articles you posted with Leicester Live. It seems like Wilfred Ndidi is unavailable for selection.
Yeah.
You say that, he cleared 2 off the line against Newcastle, Chris, the one time he did perform.
At least we're like halfway to not giving the penalty away.
That's very true, mate.
All right, mate. I'll speak to you in a second. Thanks very much.
Yeah, speak to you in a minute, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. So it's all happening. We don't know where we're going to be next season, but we will do by about 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. So 9 o'clock Sunday evening, we have got the show for the relaunch show. But the next time we're going to be here is 8 o'clock tomorrow, when we'll be looking at the West Ham game. We've got Jake from West Ham Unofficial. Craig will be back for that as well, and we'll also be joined by the other Craig. I've told him 5 minutes, but his 5 minutes is everybody else's 30, just to let us know about what he's going to think Bournemouth can do against Everton for us. Hey, go and get that. Go and get your bums oiled, because it is going to be squeaky bum time. Thank you to all the mods that have been in, and all the people in the chat as well. Really do appreciate it for supporting us. Thank you to Brad. Thank you to Dave as well. Thank you to everybody who's been listening on podcast. Really do appreciate it. You can have your ears back now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click that notification bell. It really does help the channel, all 3 of those. And if you want to join, $1.99 of your good English pounds a month, that's all it is. If you click on, there's a link underneath here or on the YouTube homepage. You can go on and it will show you all the benefits. But we will be doing, at least once we get to the target that I've set for the number of members, we will be doing at least one show a week, and it could be this one that will be members only. So that could be interesting. $1.99 a month. Click away, please, and support the channel. I'll see you tomorrow at night. Like I say, thank you to the mods, and thank you for our members at the moment. Sharky, Marcus Sports, Judy Bowers, Nate, Dugout Football Channel, Kate, Matthew Burke, David Smith, who you just saw before, Dave, and LCFC Grey Forever a Fox. We appreciate your support, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you so very, very much. I will see you, like I say, 8 o'clock tomorrow. Just a matter of beating West Ham, isn't it? Should be no problem. What do you think? Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.